Hey guys, sorry for a little bit of a delay on this. I had so much footage to sift through and edit and otherwise set up that it's taken me a little longer than usual to do this while also keeping up with the regular YouTube stuff. So, I just wanted to say it was an awesome Gen Con. I can't wait to be one of the people who's presenting there. I actually have some thoughts about that I want to talk about later, but I'll get there. I actually have a fairly large amount to discuss this year, so I hope you'll endure with my patience. I didn't actually get as much footage as I wanted to. There's a few things that I wanted to record that I didn't, but I did record quite a few things, and so I hope you'll be patient with me as I share my Gen Con experiences with you. Now, it was quite a trip up there, and due to the fact that we wanted access to our car and we're taking, the little one with us, obviously we had to go by car. That meant about a 12-hour trip. It's actually about a 9-hour drive, but combined with the fact that we had the little one and we had to pause every now and again for food and taking care of diaper situations and whatnot, there was no real getting around the fact that it was going to be a bit of a duration. So once we finally got there, there was really only one thing that was on anyone's mind.
So here we are, en route to Gen Con. As you can see, we're doing the most important possible thing, playing Pokemon Go. There's so many lures around here, it's insane, you guys. Oh wait, that's not actually what you want to see about, isn't it? So, we have a bit of a situation. They're actually completely full as far as will go. We're actually going to show up and get our tickets a wee bit earlier. Why is this zooming in? No, the opposite of zooming in. There we go. You're fine. I'm being made fun of by the person I'm walking next to because I don't know how to operate my own camera.
So we're going we'll just take
So we can't actually get tickets, so we're going to grab a little bit of food before we move onwards. But we're getting out of the way. And tomorrow we're going to be getting up extremely early and try to get our tickets then instead. It's a little bit busier than it has been the last couple of years. I think it's because Mike Krahulik's going to be here. Anyways, see you tomorrow, guys. So we've been at Gen Con for maybe 10 minutes, and I just had to share this. So we're coming in to this mall, we're at a mall right now, and we actually get there, and all of a sudden, they're like, oh my god, it's a Charmander. Because everyone in the nearby universe is playing Pokemon Go. And so we shuffle off to the side in the entryway, trying to catch this Charmander. And then some people come through looking at their phones, and my dear sister immediately says, oh my god, it's a Charmander. Quick, there's a Charmander. And they immediately say, oh my god, there's a Charmander here, and shuffle off to the side and start trying to capture this Charmander.
Now, I know I tweeted about this, actually, but for those of you who, of course, don't follow my Twitter, I do have a couple things to say about this. It was very funny to me. So, I have a bit of a tradition. I know this is starting in a weird place, but hear me out. I always take my 3DS up when I go to Gen Con. And there's these games, these Street Pass games, and I get tons and tons and tons of Street Passes while I go there. There's also, of course, I get Street Passes for, like, Bravely Default and Pokemon X and Y and other stuff like that. But the real point is those Street Pass games, which are actually surprisingly fun. Well, it doesn't matter. If you haven't played them, then don't stress it. And I get hundreds and hundreds of tags, at least normally. But I took my 3DS and I was getting very few tags, and I was very confused and concerned about that until I realized the dichotomy of it. You see, inside the actual convention halls, I saw tons and tons of people with 3DSs. Some of them actually had them out. Some of them just had them in their pocket like I normally did. And so I got tons and tons of Street Passes. In fact, I was going to have a little bit of a game and have you guess how many I got. But I'll just go ahead and tell you it was 170, which I think is actually a new record for me. So, why is this related to Pokemon Go? Because nobody, and I mean nobody, was playing Pokemon Go indoors. Now, I found that fascinating in several ways, because the moment you left the hall, the moment you walked out the doors, there are people out there, with their phones, playing Pokemon Go. Like, oh, capture it, quick. No, ah. And it was really funny to me, that complete dichotomy between the two. But one thing I saw a lot of, and this doesn't surprise me at all, because Gen Con is a group where a bunch of, let's just use my term for this, geeks, and I use that, of course, as a positive term, for those of you who've never heard me use that term before. A whole bunch of geeks were getting together because of shared enthusiasm for gaming in general. So there was no bad experiences with regards to Pokemon Go. Instead, you'd see people who'd be like, oh, dude, there's a Bulbasaur over here. Hey, what's going on? And, oh, I found this thing. As in the story that I just shared, actually. So that was pretty, oh, excuse me, that was really awesome. Sorry, I'm still kind of recovering, as you can see here. I haven't even had a chance to shave. Now, there's some footage I'm going to go and talk about now. This is out of position, but I wanted to talk about it initially. There was actually a circus we went to, which was pretty cool, and I actually filmed a decent chunk of it, along with some incredibly cute things, where Minnie Zan walked up to the contortionist, and she was like super awesomed by the contortionist act, and so she wanted to show how she could stretch and move as well. It's the cutest thing in the known universe. But I'm not going to be showing you that footage for two big reasons. First of all, this is the camera I use right here. It's a nice camera. I'm actually really pleased with it. It's one of the better purchases I've made for the show, but the problem is its shaky prevention thing is not what I would call fantastic, and I shake. I'm shaking right now. I don't know if you can really see this. It's just normal. It's something that's hereditary in my family. So a lot of the footage is a little unpleasantly shaky. So the visual thing is not really great, and the fact is they had music playing that was basically coming off of a CD. As in, like, normal music, as in music you'd buy, you know, on the radio or whatnot. In other words, music that would be subject to copyright. So I would have to mute it, and the visuals wouldn't be particularly fantastic either. So all I'm going to say is the circus was pretty awesome, and we'll just leave it at that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the overall lead into it. I think I'll let Past Me discuss this a little bit better than I will, though. Hey, Jaina. Are you looking forward to anything this year?
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to?
I don't know.
You don't know? Are you going to have fun with
Are you looking forward to going and getting the badges?
Yeah.
Pens, yeah.
What about the giant Catan we're playing?
Yeah.
With giant Jaina-sized pieces?
Yeah. Well,
So you can already tell we're here early because there's no line where we are now. For those of you who've watched this, the last couple of times I've done this, the line usually extends back that way. So we'll see how bad the line is when we actually get there. So this is great. We finally found our line way up at the actual ticket. In fact, it's not even, look at this, look at this. It's not even
A line. It
a
doesn't
line.
Get outside the thing.
Yeah, it's not even outside the thing. And then, of course, I could just picture some people like him who's never been here being like, oh my God, look at this gigantic line. So we have a bit of a weird problem this year. Normally when we come to Gen Con, they give away these free totes. And normally I wouldn't even be making a big deal about this. But we're actually planning on it this year. And so we actually have a lot of extra stuff that we suddenly don't have a place to carry. So we've just been hauling everything around in our hands. So we're thinking about either going back to the hotel to pick up, our actual luggage in order to carry things in, or trying to see if there's a tote we can purchase in order to try and rectify the situation. It's actually kind of funny too, because if I'd known about this walking into this, we have our totes from the last couple of years. We could have just brought those. Oops.
As per our usual arrangement, pretty much the first thing we did was we decided to go ahead and hit the exhibit hall, which doesn't actually open until 10. And we were there much earlier, as you can see by the lack of line. Although the line did get a little bit longer later. But once we were done with that situation, we went to the exhibit hall, which is where all the booths are, where they sell stuff and people can go to display. It's one of the two most likely places I would be going if I was actually presenting at a convention, that kind of a thing. I wanted to show you kind of a lead-in into, and some of the stuff that we ended up getting at the exhibit hall.
Sure whatever the roll means, but we like to roll the die to open Gen Con.
It's the official opening die roll of Gen Con.
But what does it mean?
It's tradition is what it means.
No, but
we are honoring, somebody once told me that Gary did this, but then John Peterson told me he didn't. success and one traitor.
There we go.
Oh, it's on me.
I don't know if you can even see that. Come on, give me some focus. There you go.
It's a pretty fantastic bag. Yes, I like it very much. And I just discovered it has a zipper.
So this is actually a bit funny because I've been looking for a new set of dice for a while now, and oh, cool Raven costume, and I hadn't seen anything that really like shined to me, and I wanted something black and white. And everything that was black and white at like Chessex and whatnot was just dull and boring and not interesting. So I decided to go and go something a little bit different. I'll show these off later when I'm at home, but just procured them. They look cool. The moment I saw them, I was like, "Yep, sold."
And of course, we found a few things that my dear sister Zanasma was interested in.
We now have a rare sight. The incredible Zanasma is enthralled by Merkers.
I'm a stationary addict. What do you want from me?
They do look nice. They've got felt tip and everything. Here, let's see if I can get a shot of it.
Oh, that's really soft. Okay.
Whoa!
I can't do that.
This is what you tune into my show for, right?
Fun though.
But then I'm afraid she showed her true evil nature.
Look at mommy.
And then when I tried to go back, I froze it.
You were right all along, Zeiss.
Different. We have a crazy line. Sorry.
With all of that aside, though, as I mentioned in the video, I want to show off these dice. I actually haven't opened these yet. It's still sealed right here. So, here we go. These dice, so what I said in the thing was completely accurate. I was roaming just looking for dice, and a dice bag. I never found a dice bag. But I wanted something that just popped out to me, said, those are what I wanted. And I kept seeing nothing. And I have an additional thing to share about this story, because this is really funny here. And I gotta pull up the camera to make sure you guys can see what I'm presenting to you. If I can get the dice out, there we go. Ah, there we go. There you can see the dice. I'm rather fond of these. So you can see I'm shaking even right now. I've been wanting some new dice. My old ones, I actually lost a few pieces of my old ones. And I like to grab new dice every now and again. And I really want a dice that really sung to me. And, you know, the monochromatic black and white thing is pretty much my favorite color. Is it colorization? I just wish I got a dice bag. I'm still going to be looking into that. If anybody knows any good dice bags, like online or whatever, let me know. But point being, I go up to this thing and I see it. And again, it clicks with me. I want that dice. That's exactly what I want. So I point to it and I say, I want that. And the woman in charge was so flustered and flabbergasted, the woman who was actually doing the sale, that she started to launch into her sales pitch, the one she clearly and demonstrably had memorized, and she gave to every single person who came through there. After I had initiated the conversation with, I want to buy those. I already had my card out. I was ready to go. And she's just like, oh, and this thing, and they sell here. And I'm like, yeah, I'd like to buy those. Can I buy those, please? It was really sad. You see a lot of that at the exhibition hall. A lot of people who are very, very over-eager to make a sale. Not that I blame them, per se, but I'm not quite as kindly disposed as I used to be. Apparently, Halfsies Dice was the company that sold me the dice. So there you go, if you're curious. They're called the Yin Yang Dice. After going through the exhibit hall and dealing with the crowd leading on the way in, I actually got to see a couple of cool things. First of all, we got to hit up Jeff, and I have no idea how to pronounce his last name, so I'm not going to try. The gentleman who writes questionable content. And we actually got him to do a sketch on the fly. Now, I actually showed off my book last time, but in this case, the sketch we got was actually for Minizan. It was, well, I'll just let you see. You can understand for yourself.
Would have been fun.
Of course, a little bit of giving them away. Really?
On Comic Chameleon, which is, did he draw you a My Little Pony Jane asshole? Yeah.
That one. I'll look that one. Thank you very much. I use Webtoon.
You like it?
Some other comics.
Yeah. The thing with my Comic Chameleon is that like I format everything in like
On its own.
But as for me, I ended up going after something else this year. I already had the most recent questionable content books, as I showed off last year, but let me pull up this. I don't know how this well is going to show up. Looks like we don't have too much green on it. So, I hit up a different booth for myself.
They have wagons.
That is a webcomic called Earthworld, which I actually recommend to people, for anybody interested. It's a fascinating webcomic. It's given me a few ideas as well. And it's very lore-centric. One of the things I actually like about it, there's a very, very strong character and plot focus in the webcomic. It's pretty well designed. Basically, imagine for a moment any of those tabletop war games you've ever heard of or played. Battletech, Warhammer 40k, you know, anything like that. Imagine for a moment that there was a setting where that was actually how physics worked. Turns and movement and juice and all those other things that govern what you can do in a turn-based, tile-based war game are actually functionally how their world works. That's the premise. It's fascinating to me, and they've done a lot of things, and I've been following the story ever since Earthworld actually started. I was actually there when they started. They started off as a secondary subset of Order of the Stick, which I'm sure much more of you have heard of. And then they kind of branched out to make their own site. And I've been following them forever. So I got to actually get up there. I was originally going to buy a Dwagon. Yes, a Dwagon. That's a W there. But then I saw, and I kind of already previewed it, this beautiful thing. This is volume 2 of their book, and it covers a ton of stuff. This is an absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous book. Ends with a very big reveal, which I'm not going to spoil for you, because again, I do actually recommend you read this thing. But there's a lot of stuff in here that was not in the actual webcomic, and to give you an idea of the level of how much is in here, these are paragraphs upon paragraphs. They flip back and forth every now and then between written works and, of course, the more standard visual works here, as you can see. And the art style is not the best in the universe, but it is still exceptionally good, in my opinion. And there is some really good, just quality presentation, and this is nice. And of course, I got the gentleman to sign it here, right there to the Lorerunner, me, of course. It was Robert who actually signed that one. Robert Balder, I believe. I'm not sure how to pronounce anything. I'm so terrible. But he and I actually got to talk for a bit, which is kind of the cool part, because when I talked with Scott Kurtz that one time, I didn't really have much to say other than to thank him for inspiring me to try and do what I'm doing right now in order to try and do my own business kind of a thing with regards to this online entertainment thing and making it work. When I talked to Jeff last year, I didn't really have much to say other than that I really liked his comic and I really wanted a sketch of Hannelore. I know the story of Earthworld. I know the lore of Earthworld. That's my home playground. Not Earthworld in general, but lore. That's my thing. Obviously I can do that. So I actually had stuff to talk about. So I stood there for I'm not sure how long. I actually felt really bad because I made my sister wait. But I stood there and just chatted with him about the story construction of his world and how certain things. And I was talking about a couple other things. I asked him a few questions, and it was just fascinating hearing about the construction of Earthworld from his perspective and really discussing it with him. And once again, I hate to plug, but I do honestly recommend Earthworld. I personally like it a lot. I follow it daily. It's some good stuff. Definitely do not regret that purchase at all. I can't wait to sit down and really start reading through that. I also got to see a familiar face while I was there. Now, I'm going to go and level with you guys. I didn't really get to actually talk with Patrick Rothfuss at any particular length or duration, mainly because he was doing book signings, and there was a hell of a line for him to sign stuff. He was pretty cool and jovial and, as usual, but I really wanted to just walk up and be like, "Excuse me, sir, I'm just really curious. Can you tell me what it's like to be working alongside Jim Darkmagic?" Like, I really wanted to do that, but I just couldn't bring myself to waste his time, and he probably wouldn't find it funny. And of course, there's a giant freaking line, and they all actually want to talk to him, and they actually have books for him to sign, so he would actually be making money off of them. So I didn't actually end up doing that. Now, there's a few things with regards to the exhibit hall that I wanted to show off. Sorry, I'm checking my notes here. I've got so much footage to go through, so I'm just going to show you a few snippets from the exhibit hall, including some keyblades I found.
Feel free to go. Anything in particular you guys are looking at?
We discovered a new form of Jenga. In my mind, I keep thinking of it as 3D Jenga. I know that's a weird thing since Jenga itself is 3D, but you'll understand why I say that when I show it.
She started to get all...
Well, you put it on the wrong triangle, jeez.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, no.
Now for
You ready, kiddo?
a little bit of...
Time to keep going.
That's called burning.
We're going to keep going.
We found the hardcore version of Catan, which is actually really cool looking. If you can't tell by the visuals, and I'll show them in just a second, it's done as in the style of most standard war games, you know, actual realistic style terrain. You'll see what I mean in just a second. And of course, I found the perfect version of the Master Sword for Shadow Link. I hope you're watching this, Shadow, because if you're not, then I took this footage for nothing.
Unfortunately, the one t-shirt I had that's... Oh, like, oh well. I'm still keeping it. I was say, if water would do it...
Then we had a little bit of an issue, which I think past me can actually describe better than I can, so I'm just going to take it away past me.
So here we are, Friday morning, and of course the first thing that happened is our tickets are not here. I'm not actually sure where the other two are. They're in some other kind of customer service line, but I've been asked to wait here in order to get some assistance. So, believe it or not, that's what I'm doing. Already seen plenty of cool cosplay. I wish I'd grabbed a few of it, but I was in the middle of going through a rather hurried line. As you can see, the line is barely even there, which is actually really surprising for a Friday. Usually Fridays, this is the busiest day, at least in my experience of the last few years. So lots of cool things, like that woman who is actually just as the door from Table Titans. I can think of her name. Anyways, to be continued.
Yes, that was a little bit embarrassing. They did end up getting everything fixed, and we did actually get new tickets printed out. And then we ended up not going to that event. This is the first year, by the way, that we've ever had this problem. This is our third year of going to Gen Con in a row, and we have always had more time than stuff to do, up until this year. You know, usually whenever we've got gaps in time, we would just go and hang out at the gaming library and have fun playing whatever. But this time, we had to actually make room for the gaming library because one of the people going with us had never been before and wanted to go. It was a lot of fun, of course. And it was actually really cool having more stuff to do than time, but it was also a weird and kind of a frustrating problem to have. But there was one thing that we were all absolutely adamant about doing, and that was Settlers of Catan. But not just any Settlers of Catan. Giant Settlers of Catan.
It's usually that with that 15-minute view, we just wind up knocking it off. Really not good way for yourself. It's mean each other's out. That's fine.
Hey, that works.
That's the one we'll be playing.
Pirate Catan. It's very cool. Yeah, we're signed up for...
Actually, no, maybe we might be signed up for this one.
We might be signed up for this one?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. Well, if you are, we're waiting for 2 more people.
Well, we're 11 o'clock. Oh. Whichever one we are, we're 11 o'clock.
This could be done by then. Now you never know. That's 2 hours from now.
Yeah, it might be.
It might not. Lots and lots of giant Catan boards here. Should see the giant. Here, I could get you a picture of the giant dice they've got here, tossing around. That's already done.
Place the ghost pirate on the spooky island.
That's already done.
Each player gets a wood tile and a molasses tile to start. Give me one of the cheat cards for building.
I don't think this is actually a cheat sheet, but
Yeah, no, right here.
oh, those. Okay, sorry.
Here.
I'll actually need one too. Yeah.
There we go. Cheat card. Here, what the heck is what? Okay, so that's.
Jana doesn't really need one.
Okay, so that's going to be one of each goat and a wood? Really? Okay, sure, whatever.
She has enough stuff. She does not have enough stuff.
So I'm gonna put that like right
All
there.
right, Jana, that means it's my turn. You did good. Great, how do you go gross?
Goat and a wood.
Go do it. And then layers are 4.
Everything.
You ready, Jana? Mama's gonna roll the dice. 2.
We're a stroll over. 2. What's 2? I get a goat, and
2. I get molasses.
you all, who's red?
I get a rock. Oh, I'm red. I get wood.
You get a wood.
Wait, I'm blue. I keep thinking I'm white.
I get a molasses.
Okay, blue's not. There's no grip. I can't grip it with one hand. Okay. Yeah.
6.
You get to move the ghost pirate.
Oh God, really?
Is that what happens when you roll a 6?
All right, what's the ghost pirate rule moves in this one?
If you roll a 6, you move the ghost pirate. Move the pirate to figure to any other island. It cannot say where it is. You receive 2 resource tokens of the type shown on the island where you have placed the pirate. That pirate no longer produces resources when its number is rolled until the pirate is moved away.
All right. Well, then I will move it over here. Like
So you get 2 goats.
And nobody can get 5 from that anymore. Look at these goats, by the way. Look at these things.
Well, that just means that the 2 of us don't get anything off of 5.
Hey, kiddo. I got 2
They get
goats.
gold.
No, we don't get anything. We're not there yet.
Now it's
There are
Kazra's
no
turn.
Layers built on it. Roads don't count.
Oh, okay.
Oh, actually, hang on. I want to build a road real quick. Because I can do that. I'm blue, right?
Yes, you're blue.
Then why is my road over there?
Because it has to
the
go
starting
there.
point.
But I put it
Marked.
there.
Yeah.
No, they're marked.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'm going to move mine right frickin' here where I wanted it to begin with. And I'm done. Oh, hang on. I got to pay for that. And wood. 5. Is there another 5? There's gold?
There's
Nothing.
another 5, but nobody can get anything.
Can you build anything? No, you can't.
All right, Jana. It's your turn, because I don't think we'll walk through. No, we'll walk
Nope,
through anything.
can't do anything. Because I got shafted.
2.
2, sorta. She gets a goat.
Jana, you get.
I get a molasses.
Jana gets a goat.
You get a
Yeah,
goat.
you go. I get a barrel. Go put your goat in your
Why do I have so many molasses? Oh my goodness.
Jana.
I have so many.
Now, Jana.
Why do I have so much molasses and a goat? Wait,
Where do you want to
I don't want to think about that anymore.
Do you want to build a boat? You couldn't do anything at the time. You were still looking at rules.
Okay, we figured out trading rules. It's a little bit weirder than normal version, but we got it. We figured it out.
So now that makes it my turn because Jana already went. Jana!
Jana rolled a 2, so we get another wood.
don't get anything.
I already gave it to you.
I got
And
something.
2 barrels of molasses. Dana?
Oh, okay.
Now, and Jana got another goat. So she's done. You're done, kiddo. Do you want to build a road? Yeah. Okay.
Super aerial vision here.
Give me one goat and one wood. And go put the sword back. Because you haven't gotten any swords.
Why are you destroying your own roads?
On my road.
Exactly.
She rode it.
Oh. So whose turn is it?
It's
her.
Dana's building a road.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, Jana, get a boat. Where you want to put your boat? Put it,
Put it over there or over here?
yeah, you have to put it next to one of your other boats.
Good job.
Okay.
Nice job.
All right, now is my turn. Good job. All right, now give me a goat and a wood. Now build a boat. Go build a boat over by your other boat, Jana. Over there. Good job. All right, Mommy's turn. Build there.
Now, if you couldn't quite tell, that's actually the juniors version of Settlers of Catan, where it's like pirates and whatnot kind of thing. It's actually still a fun version of the game, with a few variant rule changes other than the obvious simplicity tied in. It's intended for much a younger age, of course, and the little one actually caught on surprisingly well, but she is quite smart. But that's okay, because the one most important thing that we accomplished that day was we got her a pretzel.
And now, the best part of Gen Con. Pretzels! You liking your pretzel?
No.
You don't like your pretzel.
Dude.
You do? Is it tasty? Nom, 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 nom. Nom, nom, nom.
Take a picture of me.
Extreme close up. Here, so you can see yourself. See? You didn't even take a bite. You are such a weirdo.
Now, after all of those events, we got together for something that we'd been looking forward to for a while. We actually really wanted to do a couple more things of this, but tickets for this sold out very quickly, and I mean like months ago when we were actually buying tickets for this stuff, most of these tickets were already sold out. So we didn't actually get to do more than just one of these. Now, anybody who's actually followed my Twitter kind of knows what I'm about to talk about. I'm going to share with you a picture here that I showed you guys on Twitter. There it is. Now, that is, yes, me in real metal chainmail. It was quite heavy, but it was surprisingly fun to have and wear. Didn't really restrict my movement as much as I was thinking it would. Some people might call that the Lore King image. Either way, being in that, of course, I was the tank. See, we were LARPing. It's this true dungeon thing, where you go through and there's a bunch of people, some other players, some guest people who are volunteered to be monsters and puzzles and spiders and all sorts of stuff. And there's these rules involving it. We had to kind of learn their particular rules because they were a little different from some of the stuff you're used to. Like, for example, you know, you get hit with a stun thing, you have to say 1, 2, 3, and I'm free. You know, you drop your weapon, you have to literally drop your weapon, go pick it up. You have to keep track of your health. I took the feats and skills that allowed me to have much more health, and I actually know how to sword fight. Now, I'm going to describe the whole event in brief to you because it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I actually do know how to sword fight, and I felt kind of bad about that a couple of times because it's funny how quickly so much of it came back to me. We were not allowed a shield, which is a darn shame because thanks to the rules of how this works, you don't aim for feet, you don't aim for like the groin area, and you can't aim for the face. I actually got hit in the face once and lost my glasses, and that basically means everything gets called while the person recovers their glasses, which is what happened. And the person was sorry. Obviously, it wasn't deliberate. It was just a wild flail. You know, no hard feelings there. But that's the point. The thing is, when you're restricted for that, basically, you aim for the torso, right? Now imagine you have a shield covering most of your torso, and you can see why a shield is incredibly advantageous in LARPing like that. But so we were not allowed shields, so I took a one-hander sword and, of course, my armor to represent the fact that I had way more health than everyone else did. I had 9 health. Most people have an average of 4, for reference. And I'm just there, in my usual stance, balls of the feet, ready to go. And it was really, really fun, and it was... Again, I'm not trying to brag at all, because I actually made a lot of really rookie mistakes. Let me explain it to you this way. You ever try to show off, and then you screw up and you look like an idiot, but then you stop trying to show off and then you look cool? That's kind of what happened to me. I was trying to show off at first, and I kept dropping my sword, because I'm like, okay, fine. So finally I stopped and just got into actual sword fighting stance, actually had myself poised, and was actually using tactics like flanking, feints, and that kind of a thing. And all of a sudden I just started working, and of course I was always the first one into the room, so I'm the one who has to go in and be like, ugh! Unfortunately, it was physically impossible to get footage of this. They had like walls and dividers. You know, we're going through kind of like a maze in this large area. And so, like, if I'd been able to get a ladder, I would have been able to record it, but then I wouldn't have been able to participate. So it really wasn't possible to record, especially I couldn't just record while I've got my sword in hand. Like, you wouldn't really see much anyway, so it wasn't possible to happen, which is a darn shame. First room we went into had 3 goblins who were trying to get us to sell them our weapons in exchange for treasure. Now, I'm sitting here like, no, and we should just kill these guys, but I'm like, wait, no, that's too much of a typical D&D perspective. That's actually what we were supposed to do. And the rest of the team's like thinking, well, maybe we could barter this, or maybe we could give away this, or whatever. Now, we're on a time limit for these because there's a line. So after several minutes of haranguing and diplomatizing and talking with these people, the guy running it, who also happens to be part of our party, he walks forward and he says, okay, we need to take these guys out. And then it was actually a lot of fun. Just completely curb stomped it. That's when I was still flashy showing, so I didn't do anything in that battle. Next battle was against a bunch of giant spiders who had 2 weapons each, a great deal of range, and these little white packets of beads. If they hit you with it, you were rooted for like 3 seconds. I actually thought we were supposed to be stunned for 3 seconds, so I actually took a lot of hits as I'm standing there like, not defending myself, not realizing I could move. And the guy comes over and says, why aren't you moving? I explained to him. He's like, oh, okay, no, don't do that. That was the room I started actually kicking ass. We were up against 6 spiders. Can you guess who took out all of them? No, I'm not even kidding. Now, that being said, I do have to give credit for the rest of my team, because the mages back there, who also have little bean packets they can throw, kept periodically throwing them, and they were terrible shot, but the enemy, the spiders, were so scared of getting hit by the shots that they kept staying at bay. So I could just kind of kept inching forward and inching forward and inching around them, actually flanking them with Kazra, who was also a melee. There was another kid there who was a melee, and I do mean kid, he was like 10, but he was terrified of getting up there, so he never did. So it was basically just the 2 of us, and we're just flanking. It gets to the point where there's one guy left, and he's like, oh my god, and we're completely surrounding him. There's one cool guy there, though. He was one of the people running the event, not in participating as an actual player or whatnot. He clearly, you know how you could tell when someone else is also skilled in something? That guy knew sword fighting. I could recognize he had stance, he had poise, and he had the ability to balance and strike. And so he was also someone who knew how to sword fight. And he, like, marked me almost immediately, because this was the first time I'd encountered him. He was the giant spider on the wall. And he marked me, and he's like, okay. And I marked him, and the 2 of us ended up dueling, like, half of the battles we had, because he kept showing up as a recurring bad guy. But he was really cool. You know, it was actually really fun going after him and feigning and dodging and all that. I had a lot of fun. I was sweating like crazy by the end of it. But the really cool part was he actually twice would break our lines and try to attack us from behind. Now, in this particular room, when he did that, he went after my dear sister. And he was going to get a hit in on her back. Now, it's just foam swords, you know, there's no impact. However, she was carrying Mini-Zan on her back. So he would go, and then just freeze up, like, oh, okay. And that's about the moment I noticed him, and immediately, get away from my sister. But it was a lot of fun. So we defeat that room, we move on to the next room. The next room was these giant gouts of flame. This room was great, because most of the kids there were even younger kids. We're talking like 8, 9-year-old kids, and like the one guy that I just mentioned, the sword fighting guy, were the pillars of flame. They both dual-wielded, and they all had pellets of flame that they could shoot at you. So I just start, like, they're all debating what to do, and I'm like, it's pillars of flame, there's no diplomacy, we have to defeat them. So I just start inching my way forward. And one of the little girls started coming after me, you know, like 8 years old, and she's clearly no idea what she's doing. She's just having fun with it. So, I mean, I could have done whatever, but I'm just standing there like, oh, crap, I can't move or whatever. And I say that out loud, and they're like, oh, God, what's happening? And she comes through, she's like, and she gets this biggest grin on her face, like, he can't move! Whap! And she comes forward and just whaps me a big one. I'm like, oh, no, she got me. She was really pleased with herself for that. That room was also really fun because the gentleman I mentioned earlier also got behind our lines. And I'm like, why do you keep letting people penetrate our lines? So I immediately come back, switch into the reverse guard position. I'm like, ugh! Actually managed to bring him down. That's actually the first room at which my health started really going low, and I actually went down into down status, and they had to bring me back up. This is also the first room I realized that my healers weren't doing anything. I had 2 healers. I had 2 healers, including my sister, and yet I'm consistently up there on the front lines as the tank, not getting healed. But this is a good time, and it's hilarious, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I got a video to show you right after this. But I do want to admit that you guys have seen my tactical preference, right? You know I tend to be berserker strategy in general, whether it's in Kingdom Hearts, or in XCOM, or in RTSs, or whatever. That's generally my mindset. Well, that happens to be true in sword fighting as well. That is actually the style I learned all the way back in the day when I actually took classes for that. And that is the style I practiced at the LARP. So I was getting right up in there, because most people, this is true in sword fighting as well as in LARPing, if you make a swing, they'll back up. You know, they're trying not to get hit. So I'd go forward, they'd make a swing, and I'd let it connect with me. And 9 times out of 10, the other person's like, suddenly doesn't know what to do, because now I'm right under their guard. They're already extended, no way to block or defend themselves, and bam, 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 and they're down. So I'll take that 1 hit to get 4 off on them. I'll make that trade any day. The problem was my healers weren't healing me. They're just sitting back there looting. But then that leads to the next room, the final room, which was a necromancer. This is great. The necromancer is there, played by a guy who's doing a good job. He's like, you shall not pass. Now, by the rules of LARP, you don't actually have to fight your way through. You can talk your way through if you feel like it. That's allowed. So they're starting to try and talk their way through this, right? And they're trying to talk their way through this necromancer's room. And he's like, very well, I will let... whatever. I will let half of you go through. And they're like, okay. And then he says, all right, very well, come forward. He gestures to one of the other kids on our team. He says, kneel, and the kid kneels. And then the guy's like, okay, and starts winding up to chop his head off, you know, which would have just put him into dead state and brought him up as a skeleton. And everyone's like, stop it, what are you doing? And I'm like, okay, we're running low on time. Clearly, we're not going to talk our way through this. And I wish I remember what I said. It was something really cheesy, but I'm like, you know what? I have to admit, I'm sorry. Maybe I could give you an offering of my sword! And I lunged forward and managed to get a hit off on him. And he's like, whoa! Go, my skeletons! Some of their skeletons had shields. Remember everything I mentioned about the shield protecting so well? I had such a hard time penetrating the defenses of those guys just because they had so much coverage. It's like, ugh. Now, my other melee was not there for me this fight, so I was the only one actually fighting these guys up there. Everyone else is standing back throwing beads or just standing back and trying not to get in. I'm the only one up there. I go down. I get to 0 health, and the necromancer just starts laughing as he walks over, and I realize instantly what he's doing. You can probably already guess too, and he's like, okay. And he has to count out to 5 seconds to res me. And I'm just like, alright, whatever. I'm about to fight my friends. This is gonna be fun. Because I plan to go like right after them, like, you left me to die! But unfortunately, they managed to interrupt his resurrecting me as a skeleton and heal me back up to living instead of walking dead. And we defeated the guy. Killed him a couple of extra times just in case. And it turns out the whole time, the reason I hadn't gotten heals, well, I'll just let past me explain.
I don't know if you can tell the level of sweat I am currently exuding after the LARP session. I was a tank trying to defend and position as a good tank should, with no healing support, like a good tank should. We won, though. That's the important part. While I was off dying to a necromancer who nearly rezzed me as a skeleton, my beloved sister was off looting.
But the overall LARP experience was awesome. It was really, really cool. Then I had to take a bit of a break, which also led into some zombie stuff, so we'll just cut to that really quick.
So, a little bit of a sit rep here. We have been completely abandoned, as per usual. The other 3 people in my party have decided to nap. So I am going to be perusing a few things by myself. I'm going to try and get some shots for you guys, so you can enjoy that. Or maybe you won't enjoy that, in which case I have to wonder why you're watching this right now. Why are you watching this right now? You know, I heard there's this show called The Lorerunner. Oh.
Now, this year, we had made this promise to ourselves last year that we were going to participate in the zombie game this year. I'm pretty sure I mentioned it last year. I'm going to go ahead and let Past Me describe most of the rules of it, and then I'll talk about a couple things after that.
Still sweating. A little bit of a sit rep. So we hang out here. Nobody wants to look at me, so we'll just kind of look around. So, this particular year, we're actually doing something we've been thinking about doing for a long time, which is a game we're playing between humans and zombies. Now, the whole point is that you start off with, I think, 2 zombies at the beginning of Thursday, and as soon as they find someone with a ribbon, just like this, they go to bite that person. Now, obviously not literally. That's just stupid. You know, it's just like a tap in the hand or whatever. So, you know, standard LARP rules. But they get a bite. I got 3 of these little things in my pocket, so I can prevent biting from happening. Upon so doing, you know, if I run out of ammo, I get bit again. Then I am turned into a zombie. This thing will then go into my head. That's how you identify the zombie. So you look around, and I've actually found myself scanning the audience, looking for people with headbands on to identify zombies. I've actually seen one already. He didn't see me though, so we're okay.
So, I have a bit of a story to share with you. As you might imagine, of course I've got stories. I've got stories everywhere. I'm going to show you some of this footage here in just a bit, and it's going to be kind of cut off in the middle of it. So, on my very last day, it was Sunday, and everything was shutting down. The doors are going to be closed in, like, just under an hour. And I still had my green bandana on, indicating that I had remained human. I remained human the whole time. By the way, I did remain human the whole time. I want to give huge props and shout-outs to a group of people we met out at the food court. Not the food court, the food truck area. See, what happened is we got out there, and we sat down next to a group of people, and we started eating, and then one of their number comes back with some food and says, "Oh, this is so heartwarming, seeing humans and zombies eating and living together." And I look over with this look of like, "Oh, crap." And sure enough, they hadn't actually had their bandanas and whatnot on, and they were yellows. To explain what that means a little bit, I don't remember if Past Me explained it, so forgive me. As a green zombie, you have to use 1 tag to get you. A yellow takes 2, and a red takes 3. And the zombies turn in those tags in order to upgrade. Make sense? So they would have completely wiped our group and consumed us, and we would have joined the zombie horde. But the people involved were like, "We're cool." Now, you could argue the rules as to whether it's allowed to go after people when they're eating or not, but this is all in good fun anyways. And my overall point was they were cool about it. They were just being, you know, nice and polite, and I like that. And we ended up chatting for a bit, and then they're like, "But if we see you again, we're gonna get you." I'm pretty sure the only reason we made it through the whole event, staying as humans, was because of that group of people. So I wanted to give them a shout-outs, even though they'll never actually see this video. So this little girl walks up to me right at the end. Hang on, let me just show you some footage, okay?
Oh my goodness. So, I think I have one left. I'm not too sure. I think you got me.
Yeah, you got some rain, sweetie.
One left. Last card. I'm sorry. Thank you.
So, I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to be able to slice into this, because I wasn't expecting for that to happen. That was, again, the final day, less than an hour left. I'm walking my way out. And of course, this cute little girl walks up with her dad, and she's like, "Ah, brains!" And I'm like, "Oh my god!" Because the game was actually over at that point. They'd closed down the booth and everything, so we had just assumed it was done. I just hadn't taken my arm tag off yet. And she was so enthusiastic. The sheer joy on her face at the fact that she had gotten one last human was palpable. And then as I'm leaving, she's like, "Oh, and now you get to go after humans too." And I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm just dying of enthusiasm overload." It really ended the Gen Con with a smile on my face. But of course, that was the last thing that happened. I'm going to skip back, rewind just a little bit here. I've got two little montages that I'm going to end this video on, but that's basically the last footage I have, is those two montages. So now we're just going to talk for a little bit. Forgive me. I do want, actually, that's a lie. I have one last bit of footage to show you here, because what we ended up doing, there's two more things I want to talk about before we get to the montages. What we ended up doing was we ended up playtesting a lot of games. Some of them new, some of them old, but all stuff that was new to us. And it was requested of me by a few people in my show that I actually give a kind of a critical opinion of these games as a game design, from a game design mentality, and from someone who is a big fan of tabletop gaming in general. I'm going to let Pass Me show you one of the games in particular, and then I'll finish talking about it. So here, testing some new games for Rio Grande, and we saw this new game here, and of course I absolutely had to try it because of its name, which I'll show you in just a moment here. I mean, it just screams me, right? Here's what it actually looks like. And we have no idea what it's about, so I'm going to give you a little more info once I know that. So that was the game Imperial. There's also a more modern version. Getting hold of that game is an absolute colossal pain, by the way. It's made by a German company, and apparently they just don't sell it over here. We actually have had to go basically through eBay to even have a possibility of getting a copy of that game over here, and actually we have failed at that. We did go to their booth, the Rio Grande booth, while they were there, but they were out. They were sold out, so we actually couldn't buy it. We did get to try several games out, so let's talk about Imperial first of all. Imperial was a lot of fun. For me especially, the Economist and all that, and the Imperial kind of guy, and of course I love the title. But the thing is, and this was really what made the game distinct and fun for me, we weren't playing the nations. I wasn't playing Russia and China and Britain, and he wasn't playing, India, and I don't remember all the names right now. That wasn't how that worked. What was happening is we were playing investors. We were playing money-grubbing bastards who were giving orders to the nations that we had the majority control of financially. I love that little twist on things, because the way that would work is you could buy shares and stocks and stuff, and if, for example, if I ended up buying out more shares of, say, Russia than he had or than she had, then I gain control of Russia. So Russia takes its turn, but now I'm the one making the actions on its turn because I'm the investor telling them what to do. This led to some interesting situations. For example, there's upkeep cost for military, right? Well, we found it rather advantageous to deliberately get our own troops killed to lower upkeep costs. Let me say that again in case you missed it. The money-grubbing corporate bastards that we were actually playing would give orders to the national government to send their troops off to die to reduce the expense of keeping those troops in the field. Yeah. But other than that, it's one of those games that took a little bit to learn, but once you did, just flowed very smoothly. Absolutely loved it. It's actually probably my favorite game overall, new game that I tried out there, and it's very, 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 very fun. We, of course, tried out Shadows over Camelot. We actually did a variant on Shadows over Camelot where we had no trader. We actually won. Oh my god. First time we actually won Shadows over Camelot, or at least first time I've actually won Shadows over Camelot, because we had no trader. It was still a very near thing. We were inches from death more than once, and we were very much coordinating, like, okay, I need to go here, and I've only got 1 health left, so we can't have this happen, and blah, blah, blah. But it was a lot of fun. Shadows over Camelot is still a game I highly, highly recommend. From a critical perspective, it is a fantastic example of a game in which you are constantly on the verge of defeat, and there's only really one functional way to actually win, and that way is constantly slipping away from you. Other similar games like that are Pandemic, which is another game we played, Forbidden Island, all those kind of things kind of had that same overall thread to them. I don't have much to say critically about Shadows over Camelot that I haven't already, because that wasn't really a new game. I just wanted to mention it in brief. We also tried Carcassonne, or Carcassonne. I've actually heard it pronounced both ways. Carcassonne is actually a much older game, but we really wanted to try because we haven't actually had a chance to. But the thing I liked most about Carcassonne was the fact that it simultaneously rewards both long-term thinking and short-term thinking. If you try to push all of your things into early completion and then spend your farmers at the end, that can and indeed will work if RNG is with you. If you don't actually have proper luck with the draws, then that's not going to work out. And consequently, if you try to go farmers early and then everyone else gets good luck, it doesn't really work out for you as well. So I like that control it gives the players. You have the choice to decide, do I want to gamble for more, or do I want to bet on the sure thing? And then, of course, even if you bet on the sure thing, you still have a gambling chance to improve that, and even if you gamble, you have some sure bet things you can do to improve that. So it's a nice way to balance out both styles of gameplay. For those of you who have not played Carcassonne, I'll describe it in brief. You pick up tiles. These tiles have images on them. You put them down. There's rules about how you can put them down, but basically it has to fit visually. You complete cities, you complete roads, you complete monasteries, and you put down little meeples. If you don't understand what a meeple is, it's basically a little unit thing. A lot of games use meeples. Put down a little meeple, and you can place it on roads, and if a road completes, then you get points from that road. If you put it on a castle, you get points from that castle, that kind of a thing. And of course, the sure bet thing I mentioned, which is you put it down face-wise where it's a farmer. You don't get it back at that point, so it just stays there forever. But each particular city that farm is touching then gives you points at the end of the game, which is actually really cool. It's a fun game. I highly recommend it. I don't recommend buying it for $100 freaking. We went to the booth again towards the end, and we wanted to buy a copy of Carcassonne, and it was $100 normal, but since it was the last day, everything was slashed in prices. We picked up, I don't remember the game we picked up. Shoot. Airlines, which is another game I'll be talking about, for like $20, which was a great price actually for that game. But again, even on sale, Carcassonne was $60 freaking. That was the price it went down to. Carcassonne is not worth $100. I'm just going to say that flat, okay? But it is a good game, and I do recommend it. Let's go and talk about airplanes, because I just talked about it. Or airlines, I'm actually not sure what it's called. I should probably clarify that, like, really quick. Give me just a moment. Just a moment. Rio Grande Airlines. Is that it? It is, in fact, not airlines. Hang on. No, it is. It's called Airlines Europe. There we go. Got the proper title. Airlines Europe was a very interesting take on the Ticket to Ride variety. For those of you who don't know what that means, the idea is to complete routes. You are playing a wealthy individual who is, again, investing. We didn't actually play the airlines in this case. We played the people investing in those airlines. Again, another slight variant on what happened with the Imperial game. And you have to complete these routes, and completing them increases the overall value of that airline, and then periodically that airline would give a payout of money based on how much that airline is worth. So in other words, if this one airline has 3 routes, then it's hardly worth anything when the payout comes out. But if this other airline over here has 20 routes, or 61, which I believe was the actual monetary cap on that, then you have tons and tons of money coming in, and of course the goal was to win with the most points from that payout. It was a lot of fun. I'm not going to be describing it in full detail because it would actually take a while. It was one of those games that was much easier to understand once you really got going into it. And again, I like the variant of you're not playing the airlines, you're playing the investors, who are basically buying routes, buying planes for the actual airplane routes themselves. And there's a nice little, for lack of a better term, economy going on in the game, because, and I don't just mean the currency of the money. You put down routes. You pay money to put down routes. Putting down a route gives you. Wait, hang on. No, I'm saying this wrong. Putting down a route gives you money. Money can buy you shares. Shares can be used to put down routes. Routes give you money. You see how that kind of cycles around there? I may be getting the specifics of that wrong. Forgive me, because I'm not staring at the cheat sheet right in front of my head. We actually only got to play 2 matches of that game. But it was a lot of fun. Obviously enough fun for us to buy. I had a ton of fun with it. And I really liked the overall execution. And like I said, it felt like a more in-depth Ticket to Ride, if you've ever played the Ticket to Ride series. And I would actually call it a better game than Ticket to Ride overall. One of the other games that I actually didn't get to try, and I really wanted to, was a game called Star Trek Ascendancy. It's a brand new game, or at least relatively new game. It's a Star Trek Control the Galaxy board game. Everything about that just screams something I want to play. But unfortunately, we never actually got the ability to do so. They were having some play tests out of it, but all the booths were always full every time I tried to go in. I could have played it alone, but I don't really like playing games alone, or at least tabletop games alone. That kind of defeats the whole social gaming purpose, so I never actually bothered to. That's a shame. But there's one other game we actually did get to try, which was called Villainy. Now, Villainy was actually surprisingly fun, especially given the fact that we screwed up a very major rule, which I didn't figure out until towards the end of the game. So here's how Villainy works. You play a nefarious villain. You can come up with your own titles, like the Dooming Doom of Doom and stuff like that. That's a terrible example. I don't remember all the examples, forgive me. I wish I had... My battery had run out by the time we were playing that, so I couldn't actually take any footage of it. But you play all these random, ha-ha kind of villains, and you're trying to defeat the Mr. Fantastic Konami kind of guy. Not Konami, but Mr. Fantastico kind of a guy. And you have this nefarious plan which you're trying to complete, and the rules are actually quite complicated, so I'm not going to actually try to summarize them. I'm going to try to critique it instead, as was requested of me. So first of all, I do recommend Villainy. I would call Villainy a bit of a party game. Now, to explain what I mean by that, there's two layers of party game. There's Exploding Kittens, which is something you just throw down and you just play immediately, and if you've never played it before, it takes you 20 seconds to learn the rules. And then there's a party game, which is a much more complicated game, but is supposed to be played much quicker, and is basically just for silly fun. Just like, oh, this is great, and just making fun constantly, and like one of my fiendish plots was to delete the internet! And one of the steps on my fiendish plot to delete the internet was to back up all of the cute kitten videos first, because that's crucial. It's just something that's supposed to be in good fun. It's kind of like King of Tokyo, I would call the second category of party game. But both the games, there's more complexity in there. In fact, that is actually my biggest complaint about Villainy. It's actually a twofold complaint. First of all, the rules were ludicrously complex for what it actually was. When I actually finished, analyzing and discussing and figuring out how the heck the game played, it was very quick and easy to explain to them. But the rules were written, the actual rule book was written in the style of a comic book. Badly. I don't mean like comic books are badly written. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is it was like there's a panel and here's the rules, and it was badly phrased and badly worded and didn't quite get across what was supposed to be happening most of the time. And that leads to my second problem. There's a lot of unnecessary bits. Basically, they would use a lot of things as rules that I felt weren't really necessary. Like there was tons and tons of pieces in the game board that were there to help you keep track of things. And when I say keep track of things, I mean keep track of little things, like whether or not one of your henchmen has moved this turn or not, which is a very, very simple thing to keep track of. Or how many people are going to interact with which part of your plan, which again, a very simple and easy thing to keep track of. So I'm not really... I felt like that was needlessly complicating the situation. And again, the rules themselves didn't need to be explained in such a, 3-page Epic of Doom kind of a format. Instead, it was like, okay, you can take one of these 6 actions a turn, and here's the 6 actions, describe. You're trying to do this. Once you do this, you do this. Once you do this, you do this. Now, obviously, I'm not giving you details because I'm not actually going to recite the rules for you here, but that is the rules in a nutshell, what I just told you. 6 actions, 3 goals, boom. But it was very hard to get into, so it's a game that once you know would make a great party game for, let's just have fun and be stupid. But getting to that point was a little bit difficult. It was also a game that, frankly, I found to be a little bit too easy. And I know that's weird coming from me, but considering it's not cooperative in any way, it's a fully competitive game, it was a little bit too easy for any given player to just kind of lunge ahead. In fact, it got to the point where all 3 of us were completing our big, nefarious final evil plan at the same time. And it was literally just down to a dice roll that determined who actually won, because we had all advanced so powerfully and so quickly, which was a bit of a shame, but whatever. I guess that's kind of the point. I don't know. That's the last game I have to talk about. The other thing I want to talk about, and I know this is going to sound self-indulgent, forgive me. So we attended a writing seminar, or workshop, excuse me. Trying to use the right term here, because workshop really describes this a little bit better. Okay. Usually, it was a guy talking for like an hour, I want to say. It was like 45 minutes, something like that. It was a guy talking about writing. And I'm not going to give any names. I don't. But the beginning of the event was him plugging his books for like 5 or 6 minutes. Which, if that doesn't sound significant, try to just imagine going to a thing and you're all sitting there. Everyone has their notebooks for notes and whatnot, and he just starts talking about his books and how there's this new book coming out, and you can find it for purchase at these exhibits, at these exact numbers in the exhibit hall. Please go buy my books. Blah 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 blah. Little bit too much, buddy. Lord knows I understand self-plugging. Hey, Lorerunner.com, but you don't overplug. That's a very common mistake that a lot of people make. If I was there, I would probably say, hey, I'm Lorerunner from Lorerunner.com, and that's probably about as far as I would go with self-plugging. 6 minutes is a little excessive. And then he gave away some free stuff. I actually he got a shirt for her, because she was not actually present. Mini Zan needed a nap, so Zan was watching her while the two of us went there. But the other problem I have is he didn't say anything that was interesting. I really, really am not trying to sound condescending here, but he was talking about the workshop was described as connecting points in writing. Okay, sounds cool, let's do it. What he means by that is things like foreshadowing. For example, foreshadowing is connecting a point of the past into a point of the future of the story. Payoff, which is connecting a point of the present in the story to a point in the past in the story. I mean no disrespect whatsoever, but duh. It was such a bunch of duh stuff that I found myself completely disengaged the whole time. Now, I'm pretty good at being polite, and so I was attentive the whole time. But I didn't find anything there that actually was engaging to me, with one exception. I know this is going to sound really, really egotistical, and Lord knows I'm already digging my own hole on that, so I apologize, but I could do that. I kind of already do that on my show. I mean, if you've watched my Voyager stuff, you know what I'm talking about. But I could totally do that. I have confidence that I could stand in front of a group of people who want to learn more about writing concepts and just talk about it. And I found myself thinking about the mechanics of what I would actually talk about, how I would talk about it, world building, setting building, character dynamics, the 5 points of story that I've talked about with you, all that kind of stuff, And that would be kind of fun, actually, to attend that. Obviously, that's not going to happen because conventions, reach out to existing known authors and say, hey, please attend a thing. They don't want to reach out to some guy who's never published anything in his life and say, hey, a random newbie guy, please come and talk about it. Oh, what's that? You're worthless? Oh, okay, never mind. But that would be kind of cool, and I actually found myself thinking about how awesome it would be to do that someday. LoreCon, someday. That's all I've got to talk about. It was a very, very fun convention. I've got 2 final little montages for you, which I'm just going to talk about now, and then I'm going to lead into. I know you guys have all been waiting for this. Naturally, one of the most common things that has happened for me at any given convention is pointing out all the Deadpools. So without further ado, I give you the Deadpools of Gen Con 2016. The last little section I have here is something that is an idea that actually occurred to me about halfway through the convention. So I'm going to give you this, and I'm just going to walk away. I like to call this the People of Gen Con. It's been fun talking to you guys, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.